Welcome back, everybody, to the big program. Yes, we've been talking about The Seventh Sin with Bryan Eckermann, and as we move on to his 2019 release called Zycodia, we had to bring in the mighty Kobey Lange, vocalist Kobey Lange. Sir, welcome back to the show.
Oh, hell yeah. It's always a pleasure to be here, man. Everything we do is always fun and honest, and yeah, dude, I love it. Love being here.
Yeah, dude, I love you for exactly the same reasons, man. And you know, and also too, just because you're a badass death metal vocalist too.
The most badass.
The most badassest.
Yeah, the most. What did you say? The premier.
The mighty.
The premier.
Yeah, and soon to be legendary status. Don't quit. Keep working. Despite life's trials.
Yeah, absolutely. Despite life's trials.
Yeah.
Despite everything, you know, like absolutely gonna keep kicking and doing stuff. And speaking of Zycodia, for what we're here for, if anyone doesn't know the history of me and Bryan Eckermann, honestly, me as a vocalist, I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for this man. And I can almost say he wouldn't be the guitarist he would be today if it wasn't for me, because we both just mesh and challenge each other so well when it comes to writing music, when it comes to when we did Wings, even when we did Blessed Agony. Day one, when I walked in and I performed in front of him, because he was already skeptical, like, who's this coming in doing I do vocals for Blessed Agony. Who's doing vocals? And I came in and just fucking boom, and he's like, okay, all right, I could dig it. And we just never stopped missing a beat. So ever since, what year was that, dude?
2005.
2005 was when me and Bryan...
15 years ago.
Is that when you went and recorded at that crazy guy's place?
We did do that with Blessed. That was...
Let me tell you a story.
I know the story. I don't know if we want to say it on camera.
Let me tell you a story.
I'm going to put it in my book, though.
From 2005, okay, I was the vocalist of my first band, Blessed Agony, vocalist, guitarist, and, you know, we had our guitarist, Derek Russell, leave. And
Derek, we love you, Derek.
Yes, I still love Derek. We're definitely doing great things now. Derek left at the end of 2004, and we were kind of left as a band in shambles, and we were still jamming. We played a few shows with just, like, I think it was just me and the drummer. We played a couple shows. So, obviously, our drummer was reaching out. He was trying to build up things, and he reached out to Kobey, and he was like, come over and try out. I didn't know anything about this. I show up to band practice, and Kobey's there, and he's like, oh, I'm trying out for vocals. And I was like, who the fuck are you? Like, okay, I'm the vocalist. And yeah, our drummer, Dave, was just like, just let him, you know. And so we just, I was an asshole back then, and I had such an ego, which I'm glad I don't have now. Yeah. But yeah, I was like, well, do whatever. We'll see what you got, you know? If you do better than me, then maybe you'll get the job. And so, yeah, Kobey comes in, and I just played, like, our live set. And Kobey just improvised vocals over, like, 30 minutes of music. And I was just, like, jaw hit the floor. Like, what the hell just happened? Okay, you got the job. You know, and we've never looked back. 15 years later, that was the day. I met Kobey before then. It's a little, but we weren't friends, you know. And just seeing that, man, it just blew me away. And that was just the kickoff point of our friendship, our musical relationship was that day. We've never looked back.
That's great. I mean, I think you always kind of need like your running partner. You know, there's always been, you know, in the history of metal, great musical duos. You know, sometimes vocalist and a singer, or two guitar players. You know, I think about our buddy Larry Berrigan and James Rivera. You know, those two dudes.
Yeah. Quite a history.
Yeah, and you guys will have your own history. You're making your own history, and I'm glad that I'm here to document it and talk about it. So let's talk about Zycodia. Zycodia came out last August, and Bryan, before we started recording, I kept telling you, I was like, man, I love Zycodia. It's a great freaking record. And you were like, yeah, it's the greatest record I've ever done, but it kind of didn't get the support or the response maybe that a record like this really should have. And even before you said that, when we were setting up this interview, that's why I wanted to talk about Zycodia. I didn't just want to talk about Seven Sins, and I'm like, man, we have to talk about Zycodia, even though it's almost a year old, which isn't that long, really. Why do you kind of feel that? What do you feel is the reason that Zycodia didn't get the response that it should have, or the support it should have in the public?
Well, I mean, some of it's my own fault, but Zycodia was, to me, it was a process that began in 2016, and I started writing songs. I had a ton of songs, and I was going through upgrades in my own studio at the time. We did our debut Scars of the Flesh, which really represents those changes in the studio. But that was at the same time I was writing a lot of Zycodia. And so throughout the process of 2.5 years of writing, recording, mixing, trying new things, trying to really grasp what that CD was bringing to life in me, I knew it was going to be the greatest thing that I'd done to that point, and maybe one of the greatest things in my solo career. And I hit a certain point, I think it was 2018, somewhere around there, and I was just done. I hit the brick wall, creative wise, mixing wise, where I was just done with that album. I'd heard it 1 billion times on my own ears, and it had no lyrics at that point, but all the music was completely done. And so I mentioned it to Kobey, and it was kind of a thing where Kobey's like, let me help you with it. Let me hear this before you throw it away. Because I was just kind of wanting to move forward with something else at that point. And I threw it on for Kobey at one of my old apartments. I just let him hear all of what I had. And he was like, dude, this is the best shit you've ever done. Why in the world are you going to throw this away? And I was like, I've spent all my energy on it. I've given all I can give to it. And so Kobey was like, let me do the lyrics. Let me write lyrics for you. And I had a skeleton of a concept that I wanted for a sci-fi theme. I had song titles. I had the very basic framework of what I wanted. I gave that to him, and he just went off on a tangent of song after song after song, writing lyrics. And we devised a little plan of him coming over and maybe just demoing each song his own way, so I could have his lyrics, his version of what he wanted it to be. And then I took each one of those and I did it my own way. I did kind of my own phrasings, and I kept all of Kobey's guest appearances on Zycodia were from his demos of those songs, showing me what he wanted it to be. So I picked out the parts where I was like, that is 100% Kobey right there, and I cannot replicate that. So those are the parts where he guests on almost every song on the album, at least once or twice.
So was the sci-fi theme kind of your idea?
Yes, I had the music led me in that direction, and for years I put thought, so much thoughts into this album. I had a nice plan for it. I had song titles. I had this whole thing. I just couldn't follow through with it because I'd put so much effort into this super complicated musical structure, 13 songs. It's not just 13 songs, and it ended up being more like 18 or 19 songs, which is why last year I also released a little bonus EP of the Malcolm Rivers EP. It has some leftover songs that were cut off of Zycodia because of the time frame of keeping it under the 80 minutes for a CD. So some of those songs were just cut before the lyrical process happened, and they were left over. And as I built more near the actual release, once we had finished the lyrics for Zycodia and the songs were planned that were going to go on that, I had all this leftover music, and I was like, I just want to do something extra for the fans, and let me just finish these 5 or 6 songs that were left over and release it as a bonus for all my fans. So all the fans that supported Zycodia from the pre-orders, they got that for free.
The Malcolm Rivers EP.
Yes, I did not charge those people for that. I just gave it to them as a thank you for their support. You know, because it was such a long battle to get there, and I wouldn't say I have a whole lot of fans that buy my music. There might be a ton of fans that, you know, stream it online, which is cool. I love that. But when it comes to selling physical stuff, it's kind of like a select group now that will actually buy the CDs and, you know, buy shirts online that don't buy them at just concerts.
Right.
So it was just my big thank you to those people. And it has actually, that EP has some of my favorite songs on it that aren't related to the concept. The lyrics were different, but
and it in some ways, you know, Zycodia was kind of as a departure of what we traditionally might think of Bryan Eckermann. Obviously, you know, it sounds, you know, it is Bryan Eckermann music, but obviously the theme was different, you know, with the sci-fi kind of component of it. Then, you know, bringing Kobey in to kind of do the lyrics and vocals and stuff. So, Kobey, why did you kind of feel compelled to be part of this record once you heard that music? Obviously, you know, too, at the same time, thinking, you know, this is a Bryan Eckermann record, and you know, how is he gonna feel if I want to sing on his record?
It's funny. I mean, we're like I said, 15 years of doing music. Like he said, man, we've been doing this forever. So when I remember that day perfectly, because when he put it on, I was blown away. Like there was no vocals. It was just the music. It wasn't even truly mixed and mastered, and I was just like, holy shit, dude. How are you gonna backburner it? Give it to me, man. Like I know this is your stuff, but I'm like, man, give it to me. What's the concept? And when he gave it to me, he gave me like you said, bare bones. And dude, I wrote a novel. I'm not gonna lie. I wrote chapter for chapter. I wrote a novel, and the song titles he gave me, I used half, and then the other half I changed to kind of fit what I was doing. So if you were to actually read the lyrics along and listen to Zycodia, there's a story to it. And I actually one day want to turn this story into a very long book, like actually flesh it out even more to where it's like a 1,000-page novel. I think it can be stellar to the point to where someone could even get it and make a badass movie out of it, because the concept is wow. Like and I don't know. He gave me the sci-fi idea, and I can give a rundown of the story if you'd like.
Yes, please do.
So it's about a group of astronauts. It's way in the future. I don't even give a year. But it's way in the future, and there's a bunch of astronauts and science people who are going to take everybody out to space and build a colony. So there's a giant ship of like 4,000 people and like 100 of the greatest minds on this long trek. And while on this long trek to a moon called Enceladus, which is actually, or Enceladus, you can pronounce it multiple ways, but it's in our solar system. They're going towards that direction, and that's the journey to Enceladus. And during this, they get sucked in a black hole that they had no idea was there. They come out the other end, and there's a vicious alien species that's dying. And they're looking for any resource that would replenish them. They've become so cancerous of their own species that they can no longer reproduce, right? But they live for thousands of years. So humans appear, and they immediately bombard and take the humans and just like pillage and ravage this ship of 4,000 people and all these scientists and take them. Well, our main character, who we never name, he's the main person. He's one of these scientists. He wakes up in cell 913, which is the track 2.
One of those songs, yeah.
Wakes up, and he's seeing these aliens just decapitate and cut apart and, like, using DNA. And you trying to figure out, like, what are these species we found, and how can we use their DNA to save ourselves? And they create the God genome in their eyes because they start to unage by using human DNA, mixing it with theirs. So they create a serum for their aging. And from this, our main character becomes a perfect subject. His blood and their DNA, for some reason, they meshed. So out of all the subjects on the ship, his worked.
Right.
Well, he comes to. He's not all sliced up and cut up and everything else. He escapes, goes back to Earth, and this is years later. He's been gone. Shows up, and they're already planning another expedition. He's like, "No, don't, please stop. You need to hear. They're looking for us. They're using humans to do something." And they're like, "You're crazy, no, whatever." And for some reason, he's able to convince them, "Well, let me take you where we went so I can show you where they're at." Because they're like, "Okay, search and rescue mission." So dude goes back, and upon this flight, he has an epiphany where he's like, "I cannot let these humans arrive." So he kills everyone on board of that ship that's going back. Kills everyone, and like he's screaming like, I will drench myself in blood for you. Your country will thank you. Like literally is some of the lyrics in it. And it's like, I'm doing this to save humanity. All the while, as he left, when he came back to Earth, that genome created a super virus that was killing humans because the way it spread and it mixed in his blood with this blood, it created just a super virus. Well, he's immune to it because his blood created it. He comes back to Earth, infects people, and leaves. Meanwhile, as he's on board, kills everybody, he's come to this conclusion that after killing everybody, I have to go and save everyone, right? So he goes and arrives in the jungles of Galil, and that's when he comes across some aliens of this species, goes back through the same area, through the same black hole, and he kills them with a piece of wreckage from the plane of him, or the aerospace plane that crashed there that got him back there. He used a piece of that debris and just started killing these aliens to like be like, yes, you could die too. Well, upon this, alarms go off, everything's crazy, and they realize there's a human or something that's there and it's killing. So he just goes on like a Rambo style mission killing everybody. And he's like, I'm going to kill the creator. I'm going to kill the one that did the super genome and everything else. And it's this huge epic story of battle and him sneaking on board and killing the main guy because they find the coordinates to Earth because of all the technology that they brought with them and everything else. It's a pretty cool concept. I really can't wait to really flesh it out outside of just 80 minutes of lyrics. But the final end, he comes back to Earth and everyone is dead because he infected the planet when he came back. No cure, no nothing. So that's the last song on the album, is him coming back and realizing that he not only killed everyone on board to save humanity, but he killed humanity in itself by coming back.
Right.
And so that's the portrait of desolation. It literally ends with our hero blowing his brains out.
Everybody dies.
Everybody dies. Happy ending. Happy ending.
It was so awesome.
So, but what is Zycodia though?
That's where the aliens come from.
That's the planet where the aliens are from.
That's what
The
you see on the
Zycodians.
cover.
That
Is
beautiful.
a
That
picture of the planet.
Yeah, killer artwork. For some of you who don't yet have this release, go ahead and take a look at the artwork right now. Zycodia by Bryan Eckermann with Kobey Lange storyline and vocals came out August 23rd of last year. So be sure to check it out and look for it at Bryan Eckermann's store and pick it up. Definitely one of my favorite Bryan Eckermann releases. I think I listened to this one probably the most. Really, kind of also too unprecedented. Like 13 tracks on this record. It's a lot of music. And you were telling me off camera, Rob, like, man, I worked on this record for 3 years, or what were you telling me?
Yeah, it was 2.5, 3, because I was still writing while Kobey was fleshing out lyrics for the first few songs. I was still writing, so it was 3 years of songwriting for me musically, and like I said, I had 18, 19, maybe even 20 songs for this album. Yeah. So it was more or less, hey, I don't want this to be a double disc, which the double disc idea might happen next for something else that I'll mention later. But anyways, I didn't want to get that carried away on this one. So when it came to having 20 songs, it was like, hey, how can I fit this into under 80 minutes? And I spent I would say I spent a whole year kind of devising a track order of a flow of music, and what songs were going to be on there, what songs were going to get cut, how I could update the songs that were going to be on there. I spent way more thought than should ever be spent on an album on this one. You know, my OCD definitely took hold of me, and it's a benefit when you listen to it in the end.
Me doing Zycodia made Bryan step up his vocal game, like big time. Like after all my demo tracks of Zycodia, I know he was calling me after every track, like, dude, like doing what you do, but doing it my way, but still trying to give it that fucking brutal feel. He's like, God, he's like, he just kept telling me about how thankful he was for me doing that because it helped him create what you hear now.
Yeah.
So you kind of did modify your kind of style a little bit.
Well, when it comes to writing anything that I involved, that me and Bryan, like Morbid Beauty, I wrote the lyrics for, and me and Bryan going back and forth, like it's hard for me to write vocals for two people because I'm always like my state of mind type of thinking, you know. But whenever I bring Bryan in, I don't know, we make magic, and I fit it right, and he gives the right critiques, and it just, like you heard on Seventh Sin Morbid Beauty, it came out awesome.
And also, a lot of Zycodia, I want to say, the way that Kobey demoed it, I still have those somewhere, which is very cool. Maybe like later years and years and years down the line, I could submit some bonus tracks of just Kobey singing these songs. But a lot of the phrasing is where we would vary, because Kobey has his lyrics, and like I would listen to his demo take, and it's like he did this section and this, you know, over this riff. And I'd kind of just mute him out at that point, and I'd be like, okay. And I would phrase things my own way to give it my own style, as well as singing his lyrics. Occasionally add a word here or there. But Kobey's lyrics really did bring out something new in my vocals, that you can hear the change from Haunting at Helmbrook. And then there's my other side album, Winter's Plague, The Final Eclipse, which is technically a solo album. But you can hear my vocals kind of change for the Winter's Plague album, style-wise. But then when you hear Zycodia, the way I sing is a tribute to singing lyrics that I probably wouldn't have written myself. You know, it brought something else out in me that I think did reflect greatly in the Seventh Sin, because I kept that with me.
Right.
You know, it inspired me to be better in the future doing my own things. And yeah.
I mean that's too, like, you know, I think when people think about you, first and foremost, I think I do just in my mind, you know, I think about you as a guitar player, and then I think about you as a singer after that. And, you know, you always see, you know, I see your guitar playthroughs that you do online and stuff. And so I know that you're working hard at becoming a better guitar player. And sometimes we don't think about musicians working harder to be better vocalists.
Oh, yeah. And you know what's funny is of all this promo that the Seventh Sin has got, I want to say that I've gotten a constant response of, this is your best vocals ever.
Yeah.
This is your best vocals ever. This is your best performance. And that's a tribute to the process me and Kobey did on Zycodia. I thought that at the time that the Zycodia was my best vocal performance, which is great that I can keep continuing, but I wouldn't, if we hadn't have done that album, there's no way the Seventh Sin would be what it is.
Right, I agree. So, you know, we're in the summer of 2020, you know, and the fall will be upon us soon. Kobey, do you think you'd ever want to work on another Bryan Eckermann record?
Anything that this man wants to churn out, I'll be a part of. I mean, that's my brother.
I know that's a silly question. I just wanted to hear what you would say.
We already talked
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. We have actually. Can I bring it up?
Well, I'm already going to bring it up.
Oh, you are, okay.
Well,
I'm gonna bring
what are you gonna bring up? BA.
No, not BA.
That's
We're already getting ready to kind of probably get the gears in motion for our third Scars of the Flesh album. So
Yeah.
Oh, that wasn't even what I was thinking about.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking about, man.
I have a whole next album, the follow-up to The Seventh Sin, is written musically.
Okay.
And it will be 2 discs.
What the hell?
And it will be a concept which features a lot of lyrics from Kobey. We've already gone through a lot of these songs that I have. It's going to be a whole different kind of concept, not a sci-fi, not a horror story, a more real-life kind of thing. And a lot of the music was written after my mom passed, which hit me deeply. And the only way for me to vent real-life emotions is to write music. So I wrote, at that specific moment, I wrote a whole album of stuff in like 1 month. And then I've been kind of slowly adding stuff that adds to a whole second album. And that was written a lot before The Seventh Sin. So I'm just kind of holding on to that because I know it's a bigger endeavor.
Right.
And I actually have album artwork and everything for that.
Wow.
It's just sitting there.
You know, because you guys collaborate on a lot of stuff, you know, how, and I guess, Bryan, since you're really at the heart of it, how do you kind of differentiate, like, solo Bryan Eckerman stuff versus something like Scars of the Flesh? Like, what are your, how do you see what you're doing differently for each project? How do you kind of visualize Scars versus kind of Bryan Eckerman?
Well, the main difference when it comes to Scars of the Flesh is I will not write music without my other guitar brother partner Derek Russell. We started that band together as our rebirth of what we originally had in Blessed Agony from a long time ago before he left in 2004. Me and him didn't talk for 10 years. And when we finally met up again, it was like all the BS was gone. Let's just get back to being best friends and doing what we were doing, because neither one of us can really remember why it all went to shit originally. So with Scars of the Flesh, I do not write for Scars without Derek there. We write together. The music is created as a 50-50 on the spot. Bryan Eckerman stuff is obviously me in my cave. I do my thing. I'm the only opinion that matters. When I ask Kobey for help, obviously it's still kind of going to be the, if I don't like it, no. It's kind of the dictatorship. With me and Kobey in the past, though, with like Wings of Abaddon, there was a lot of times where I would write stuff on my own, but I was a lot more perceptive to outside opinions at that point. And it's like, if somebody doesn't like it or somebody has a different idea, yes, I definitely entertain the idea. And actually the last and final Wings of Abaddon album, Kobey was there with me for writing a lot of it, and I can say he contributed to a lot of the music. Even though he doesn't play guitar, he was like mouthing riffs to me in a certain tempo, and I was just going on the fly. So that's what made that last Wings album great. It was a whole different process of, we've never actually done that before, where it's, Kobey being there while I write music.
Side by side.
Yeah, so there's a different aspect to each band. But yeah, I would say my solo stuff is still always going to be, I created it, I guess, because I need that outlet where I'm the dictator. I can make all decisions without somebody saying, it sucks, dude.
I'm sure there's going to be people out there watching this interview and they're like, what the fuck? Their minds are blown. I'm thinking about that emoji with the mind blown. Because they're talking about, Wings of Abaddon, Scars of Flesh, Winter's Plague, Blessed Agony, Bryan Eckerman. Like, yes, everybody, that's this guy's involved in a lot of things. So just Google it, look it up, send me a message if you need clarification.
Just go to my merch site. It's all in there.
There you go. So really quick, and I've wondered about this because I am a huge fan of Wings of Abaddon. Is Wings of Abaddon officially done?
Yes. We put out the final album at the end of 2018, the Exodus chapter.
Yeah, I got it.
The band was already on the decline with how much we would get together.
Yeah.
We lost our drummer. We were having fill-ins. But me, Kobey, Joe, Rob, O'Brien, and we were all working on the Exodus chapter for years, like literally years. And we knew it was one of the best things that all of us had ever done musically. But it was a sad reality to know that at the same time, you have this awesome album, but the band, you can kind of admit that it's done.
It's done, yeah.
So we sat on that album almost finished for probably like a year and a half. And then I messaged all the guys just kind of giving a finality to it, saying that it's done, you know? I mean, and I want to put the album out. And everybody agreed with me. It was already kind of like an unspoken known thing. It hurt all of us to hear it, like, I guess, or read it as a final thing, which it still kind of hurts because it's one of the best albums we've ever created.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that the album did get put out.
Yeah. Me too. I mean, because once you put it out, it's eternal. That's forever.
And it was our farewell to the fans that supported us. It's, hey, we worked so hard on this, and we didn't want to leave y'all without it. We want to give this to y'all and say goodbye.
How many official Wings of Abaddon releases are there?
4. There's Sound the Horns,
Yeah.
2011, Offering of Locusts, 2014, Built to Collapse, 2015, and then the Exodus Chapter, 2018.
Okay, I think I have the last 2. I don't think I have the first 2. You got to hook me up. Okay. Gentlemen, as we move on from Zycodia, any last words about Zakodia that you want to share? Anything that I missed before we move on from it?
Sure, yeah. Everybody, seriously, when Rob says it's Brian's best work, it really is. And that's why, like, I was so honored to be a part of it. And if it wasn't for him allowing me to do it, I wouldn't have this awesome novel idea. So either way, man, if you have not heard Zycodia from Bryan Eckerman, stellar. It's the heaviest music he's released that's from his solo project. It's more on the like brutal, just in your face side, and that's why I was like, give it to me. Like, that's me. That's everything I'm about. So yeah, support this man. Not only is he my best friend, but man, he's my brother. Like, support this man. He's the hardest working musician in Texas. I don't know, I'm probably in the States. Puts out more music by himself while helping other bands like my band Cerebral Desecration and everything else. Hardest working man in the freaking planet, dude, for real. And I just gotta say, support him.
And that's a great segue because also too, I think like within the last couple of months or so, you mentioned that you alluded to this earlier, that you kind of started really putting together your own art studio now. I think you call it the Art of Brian Eckerman. Is that it? The Art of Brian Eckerman.
I officially launched it maybe like a month and a half ago. But yeah, it was, I mean, I've done things on the side for like I said earlier, flyer designs. I've been doing those as kind of like just $20 per pop, you know, just to make people's shows, you know,
that's pretty inexpensive.
Yeah, I don't do it necessarily for money. I just want to be paid maybe like $10 an hour for my time I put in. I don't want to do it for free.
Damn.
But
an order of Fred's fish costs more than $20.
So that's kind of where it started, and then me doing artworks for my own albums over the years. Winter's Plague was the first solo release that had my artwork on the album cover, which I have no idea how I made that one as good as it
was cool, too.
Because it was in a program that is not designed for that kind of thing. But I somehow made it happen. Looked great. Made for a great new shirt that's on my site. But anyways, for this new, the Seventh Sin album, I kind of had that already in mind from doing our Scars of the Flesh last album artwork. And the guys actually loved it and helped me push it to a nice new level. I had a confidence that, hey, for this new album, I'm going to do artwork for each single. Yeah. And then I actually held a vote for which artwork became the front.
I was remiss not to mention that, yes.
Yeah, and so throughout all this process, once the Seventh Sin was done, I was like, man, this artwork stuff is something that I need to push forward with, because I actually had a couple shirt designs too I did for people that they paid for, and I was like, man, like I've kind of been missing out on a hidden talent and just using it for myself, so why not share it with the world? And so I launched a Facebook and Instagram, The Art of Brian Eckerman, and I'm trying to just slowly post some old stuff with a few new things that I've been working on. But I'm hoping to, in the next, I want to say 2 or 3 years, be able to accept commission for album artwork, T-shirts. I'm still kind of trying to develop my own style and, deal with people giving their, I want this and I want it in this way, and be able to accomplish that from them giving me their description. So it's a little tough right now. It's kind of like a learning curve, and I'm just doing my best. I've done a few commission things, but
you just did the cover for the Daniel Bass compilation that's going to come out next week.
Yeah,
that was really cool. A lot of people have loved it.
Yeah, that was actually the most difficult artwork I've done yet. They gave me a bit of a concept, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do that. I'll give it a shot, pretty much. It was like, hey, pay me if you like it. And so I started throwing some ideas together, and Julian Cruz, he was the one who reached out to me, and I love him. Yeah. He's gotten flyers from me. He's always supported me. He's always sharing my stuff. He's a great person in this music scene. Yeah,
he's becoming more and more prominent, and I like that.
So he gave me his idea. I put some stuff together. I sent it to him. They kind of accepted where it was going from there, and I said, just let me do my thing, and if you like it, pay for it. If you don't, it won't hurt my feelings if you don't. And when I went into it in detail, I spent a lot of hours on that artwork, probably way more, probably less than minimum wage when it comes to selling it.
Paid for, yeah.
But in the end, they loved it, and that means more to me than money at this point, because I'm still feeling things out. I'm still building, and it did come out way better than I thought when I went into it. So it's a big step forward, actually, in my art life, is that I could accomplish something that.
And this isn't a flyer; it's a record.
It's a super detailed, destroyed city. Welcome to 2020,
And the poor guy in the front saying, "Woe's me, woe's me."
He's kind of like the guy that at the end of Zycodia.
My life sucks.
He's the guy at the end of Zycodia that comes back to his dead.
Kills everybody.
I'm telling Brian, I was like, dude, because being friends, I sent me a picture because I'm one of the artists that appears on that compilation with Daniel Bass. So he sent me the artwork and was like, dude, what do you think? And I was like, dude, all it needs is a face mask on the ground, like a dirty face mask laying right there at his feet, like.
No. I'm not going that far. We can't do it that.
Gentlemen, what a wonderful evening it's been talking with you. It's not even to me, this isn't even an interview. We're just chatting and talking about all the things that we talk about off camera. But before I let you go, Brian, you and I, we kind of stay in contact frequently. And for some of you out there who didn't catch it earlier, the first band that these guys were in was called Blessed Agony way back in the day. Early 2000s, right?
It started in 2000 in August.
So, a band that really kind of launched the careers for these two gentlemen. Blessed Agony was a kind of a very, kind of like ugly, scary, fast, heavy kind of band. And I've never actually been privy to hear a lot of your old recordings. And Brian, you were telling me, I don't want you to hear our old recordings because they're horrible. I look at my old interviews from 1998 and they look horrible. Yeah. So I empathize. I get you. But you also said, okay, Rob, I'm going to share something with you. And I said, I want to talk about this in the interview. And that is the fact that you are planning to re-record some of the old Blessed Agony songs. And in fact, you sent me a lyric video for the first song that you're going to release, I think at the beginning of August.
Yes,
August 1st. What was the name of the track again? Confined
Slaughter.
Confined Slaughter of Death. Yes. The lyric video is really cool. Thank you for sending it to me. I saw it. the production on the re-record is amazing, but yet I knew that like this is a whole different band. Yeah, because Blessed Agony, like I said, was really gritty and heavy, and it's really scary to me. Like, it's fucking scary shit. Like, it's like really scary. So what is the plan? If whoever wants to comment on this, what is the plan for the Blessed Agony stuff?
So yeah, we can announce officially that August 1st you're gonna get actual new recording of Blessed Agony. It was something we did in 2005. The only album that we've released under that name was Confined Slaughter. And so I thought it fitting that we released that title track as this first commemoration kind of. We're not bringing the band back from the dead. It's more of a tribute to all the years past and where we've come from. So bringing back Confined Slaughter, which was the only album release, we re-recorded the song completely from scratch, added some new elements. I made a artwork, a video that's going to be coming out August 1st, but we also have a kind of a plan to bring in some multiple eras of that band, which actually Blessed Agony was a band started by me and Derek Russell from Scars of the Flesh. We started that band in 2000, being best friends from high school, middle school. So the first 4.5 years of that band were me and Derek, and I sang. So we're going to bring in some of those old era songs as well, and maybe add Kobey in to different elements. Like, we honestly started as kind of a thrash black metal band where I sang. And then it developed once Kobey joined to more of a kind of fast deathcore kind of thing. And I can't necessarily say where we ended up, but it was maybe a bridge to where we are now, but we were just really sloppy back then. But I want to give a little bit, and maybe I want to say, just a guess right now, I kind of want to do 6 songs from various years.
So you just release these as singles, or will it be like a new package?
I can't say for sure, but I'm definitely they're going to be on Spotify, all that. I just can't say for sure if you're going to get a full, like, physical release, but you're definitely going to get something digital and something to just commemorate the band. I actually had the logo remade. It looks super sick. So just within, whenever this video comes out, close to August 1st, you're going to have something to see, and I hope it blows your mind. Just knowing from me and Kobey, we've been there 15 years ago writing that song, and me and him are both just like jaw drop when we hear how it sounds now. We're like, wow, we were that good back then? Kind of.
if we were as good as we are now doing what we did back then, probably. But the funnest thing about going back on Blessed Agony is trying to tap into that younger me. I mean, I'm in my freaking 20s when I did that, man. So that's definitely, vocally for me, it was just the nastier, like, just disgusting. I got gross with it, man. Like, not so much on the brutal side, just screaming my lungs out. So it was fun getting back into that feel and not doing my wings, not doing my cerebral or my scars. Like, every project I ever do, I try to make it different. And being a vocalist, you can only do so much. But, man, like, that's the raw side of me, because that's where I really became a vocalist, was when I joined up with Bryan and with Blessed. And I just, man, I don't know. That's the biggest... the chapter I don't remember the most of my life, but the most important one.
Let me add.
It's the foundation. I mean, launched from there.
Let me add this, is that part of the reason that I want to do this personally, it's tattooed on my skin right here, Blessed Agony, since 2001. And so it's something that I can never forget about on a day-to-day basis. It's right there staring me in the face. So it does hold a lot of negative memories of my music career that could have been better, could have been this, could have been that. And it was 2000 to 2009 when Blessed Agony ended and Wings of Abaddon began.
Right.
So for those first 9 years of my music life, I want to turn some of those negative memories into positive memories that I can carry forward. And when people ask, hey, well, where did you start? I'm going to have this to show them instead of nothing to show them.
Right.
So for me, it's a tribute to where we started, everything we've accomplished since, and it's just, I mean, something for maybe the diehard fans that want to know everything we've had our hands in. Mm-hmm. It's just something to say, this is that, and you've never been able to hear that before, but here it is, and it's awesome.
And to say too, to any old school people who've actually seen Blessed Agony, like we got some friends who we're still cool with that remember Blessed Agony. I'm going to push this, man. I'm going to say it right now, to re-record the first concept album I ever wrote. So Zycodia wouldn't be what it is if I never wrote a story into music before. The Fall of Heaven, we are going to redo that one day.
Was that a Blessed Agony record?
It was the album that we had ready that we went and recorded, you know, that crazy story you're going to put in your book that I told you about? Yeah. Well, that album never came out. So
Yes.
I never knew that record never came out.
Recorded.
What was the name of that record?
The Fall of Heaven.
It was recorded in 2007, 2006, 2007. Yeah. We recorded the whole thing during some chaotic.
You recorded it with the crazy guy. Yeah.
Some chaotic studio time. We recorded a second Blessed Agony album. That the songs are actually fantastic, but our performance, drugs, alcohol, everything, you name it. There's a lot of regrets we have in life, but it did not come out as intended.
You recorded it too fast.
It never came out in general, which I'm actually glad of, because here in the coming future, possibly we can re-record it and put it out as intended.
Okay, cool.
So we'll see on that. That's a maybe.
Well, flesh it out.
I'll call it 2025.
Exactly.
I get 20. All right, there you go. 2025 we'll record it.
202666. Yeah, that would be great. 202666. Yeah.
It would be 20 years since the original. So.
There you go. That's ideal.
This will be just a taste to start with. These few songs from different eras. Just a taste to just give y'all something special. And then we'll see what happens from there.
Awesome. Okay, gentlemen. I think we've covered the whole gamut tonight. Any last words as we end out? Anything you want to share with the people watching this interview around the world?
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Anything that I've ever been a part of, giving love for, thank you so much. It means the world. And don't forget, support Bryan Eckerman.
Thank you. I appreciate that, especially from my brother. But, I want to thank everybody. I have a very select group of diehard fans that they're always liking my stuff on Facebook, sharing my stuff, buying my merch. You guys know who you are, and I appreciate you immensely. I always try to stay in contact with you guys on Facebook as much as I can. I do get busy, and it's a little bit hard to respond at times, but I just want you guys to know that your support does mean the world to me, and I will never forget that. And for the people that are maybe just hearing me, I hope you enjoy what you hear. I try to put it all out there to do whatever I can to just showcase the work I've put in. I know there's a lot of projects. There's Bryan Eckerman, Winter's Plague, Scars of the Flesh, Wings of Abaddon, Blessed Agony. So if you do your digging, you'll find all of it. But it does take some digging necessarily to really know what I've put into this scene over 20 years.
Yeah. And I think that, now all the hard work is paid off. I think that really people talk more about you than you might know. I think people respect you more than you might know, your peers, and I hear it all the time. And that's why whenever I have an opportunity to talk to you about the music that I'm a fan of too, I always want you to come back to the show. So thank you, Bryan, for coming over tonight. Thank you, Kobey.
I had to put it on just because always with any music, even Bryan, we're coming for that chon chon.
Remember, everyone out there, tonight on the show, you saw Bryan Eckermann and Kobey Lange. You heard us talk all about their musical projects. Look for the Seventh Sin. Look for Zycodia. Remember, you saw them right here only on Rob's Metalworks.